Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. In this video, we're going to be doing our first run of the Asics Trabuco Max 4. Let's have a look at this shoe. The Asics Trabuco Max 4 costs £160 or $160. It weighs 311 grams or 11 ounces for men in a size 8. The drop is 5mm and the lugs are 4mm. The Trabuco Max 4 is a high-stack trail shoe designed for comfort and protection on the trails. The chunky midsole is made from the brand's FF Blast Eco foam to provide a balanced and cushioned ride, as well as minimise impact. It also includes an EVA sockliner for additional padding. That foam is covered by a healthy layer of Asics grip outsole rubber featuring 4mm lugs to ensure a high level of grip on varied conditions, while the upper is made from an engineered jacketed mesh to provide structure and breathability.
Fit then, and in testing I ran in a UK 8.5, a US 9.5, and overall I found the fit to be very good. You've got an accommodating toe box with good clearance for both length and across the top of the toes. I had no issues getting the midfoot secured. The big padded heel collars held me well enough and offer really nice plush comfort overall. No rubbing, no worrying sort of Achilles problems. Overall, I think this has got signs of a shoe that has the fit that should deliver good comfort for long miles when you're cruising the trails. From what I've seen so far, I would recommend going true to size.
So the fit for me in this shoe is very comfortable. I'm a size 8 in the UK, this is a size 8. It's quite a roomy shoe, there's plenty of space before the big toe and around the front section of the shoe. It's a fairly relaxed fit overall really. What I found is that it was very comfortable from the off. There's quite a lot of padding around it, and it was pretty easy to get a nice lockdown fit. I have read some reviews that say there's an issue with the laces that make it difficult to get a lockdown fit easily, and you have to double knot it or use the little lace hoops in it. I didn't have that problem at all. The first run I did in it was a 30k run up on the downs, and it felt very comfortable for the whole thing. I had no issues at all with the shoe, so I definitely stay to my size in the Trabuco Max 4. So as I mentioned there, my first run in the shoe was a 30k run from my house across the South Downs, and it was on varied terrain. So a big chunk of it was on quite muddy paths. It's quite nice in the UK now, but a lot of the trails, especially the lower trails, are still very, very muddy. So a lot of it was on that. Then on the downs, it was really dry. There was lots of rocks, inclines. I did about 500 meters of elevation on the run. I also did quite a bit on road as well. So probably about 10k of that run was on road. So nice test for this shoe. I don't normally do that big a run with that varied terrain on a first run, but I'm marathon training at the moment and thought I'd enjoy the trails for a run. And what I found on it is that really comfortable, enjoyable run in this shoe. It's quite risky taking a trail shoe out for the first time if you're going to do a really long run, and I've made that mistake before, but I was very happy with this for the whole run. It was very, very comfortable. Had no issues at all with it. That midsole, despite the fact that it's a really chunky midsole, this FF Blast Plus midsole foam in it, it's quite a balanced midsole foam. It's not that soft, even though it looks like it might be a big soft bit of foam. It's not. It's quite well balanced. So on the road sections, it felt absolutely fine. It didn't feel like a really squishy max cushion shoe. It felt like it was nice and responsive. There's a little bit of a rocker in there. It feels quite nice. On the trail sections, that works really well. You don't run a really soft foam when you're running across soft ground, especially when you're on like fields and muddy sections. So it was very good at that, and I didn't have any issues with it for that whole run. It felt like a really nice, enjoyable shoe to do that sort of run in. The pace I was running at was pretty slow. It was my for me, I was around 6-minute kilometers, which included all the elevation as well. So it was a very comfortable pace for me. I wasn't running fast in this shoe at all, and I think that's really what the shoe is designed for. It's comfort, it's cushioning, it's impact protection, all those sorts of things. But it does feel very nice on the feet, and when you're on the flatter sections, you can get a nice consistent pace in it. It doesn't feel like a sluggish shoe. It doesn't feel like it's sapping your edge or anything like that. So on the road sections, felt great, felt very, very comfortable. The rocker works very well with it. It's not the softest shoe as I've said, but it does feel very cushioned and comfortable as you're running on it. So I had no issues on the road sections. The muddy sections, I did struggle a little bit in. This outsole on it is pretty good for sort of the wet terrain on harder surfaces, but when you're hitting puddles of mud, it's not really designed for that. It's if you're planning on running like the Lake District or something, and it's wet as it normally is when you're running up there, it's not a great outsole for that. It's very much designed for a little bit lighter trails or lighter weather conditions when you're out running. So when I was running through those puddles, it was a bit slippy. Everything else was absolutely fine. Up on the downs, which can be a bit rocky, there's fields on it, there's some nice trails on there as well, but it's a bit of a mix on the downs. Felt absolutely great, had no issues across any surface. On the rockier surfaces, it felt very protected, didn't have any issues at all, felt very comfortable, didn't feel like there was any rocks pressing into me. There's not a lot of protection on the upper, but it does feel like quite a well protected shoe because of all the cushioning, so I didn't feel like it I needed any more protection on my feet on that sort of trail. So overall, really enjoyed that first run in it, and I do like a big stack shoe, but it's quite a stable shoe as well. So when you're running on uneven terrain, and it was quite uneven where I was running on, but absolutely great. Despite the big stack height, it's still a very stable shoe, quite a solid base on it, quite a wide base as well. Works really, really well. So yeah, really solid running that for that 30k that I did. And looking forward to doing some more runs in it.
So I've just done my first run in the Asics Trabuco Max 4. I've done 7 miles. It's been a mix. I did quite a good chunk of commuting here on the road, and then I've come into Richmond Park, which you can see behind me here, which is mostly kind of runnable, buffed out trails like the ones that you can see behind me here. Everything's pretty runnable. It's not very steep. There was a bit of mud and a bit of sloppiness, a bit of wet in places, but it's kind of dry. It's the kind of ground that you can really run without thinking too much about where your foot placement is. It's not technical in any way. It's not particularly steep, although I have found a few short steep downhills just to see how the shoes hold up. Overall, what I'm going to say about these, when I first put them on the road, initially they felt quite firm. They've softened up, and I think it's a shoe that's going to break in nicely, and then what you're getting is a lot of cushion, a lot of protection from the trails and the roads. Initially I thought this wasn't really a shoe that I would like to run on the roads, but they have softened, and even on this really kind of hard firm stuff, starting to get a nice kind of cushioned response. There's good feedback from the shoes as well, not totally devoid of ground contact. There's a bit of energy to the Flight Foam Blast Plus midsole that you've got here. There's a decent amount of rockering to help make the transitions feel nice and smooth. So the other thing I'll say, this has a wide platform, so everything feels nice and stable. You get stability with the cushion. It's not going to make it the most precise shoe though, and that's going to be interesting, I think, when you take it onto something where you need a little bit more precision. You've got small places to put your foot. On this runnable stuff where you don't really have to worry too much, that's great. It's ideal. For this kind of stuff, it's been absolutely spot on. It's felt smooth, cushioned. It's kind of on the heavier side. To me, it feels firmer in the heel, actually, softer in the mid to forefoot. So when you're landing further back, or if you're on your heel, it's actually quite firm. When you land on the forefoot, there's softness. So I think that kind of helps with the overall stability. The heels, there's no wobble in them at all. So when you land further back, you do feel like you're getting a reliable foot placement. It doesn't make for the softest kind of cushioned heel landings, but in a trail shoe, I think that's fine. I quite like that. Overall, the comfort's been good. I think they disappear nicely on the foot. Plenty of room up front in the toe box. The uppers feel nice. Everything feels well held. I've had good lockdown. All of that stuff's worked really nicely. My feet have felt well cradled for that hour and 10 that I've run. I've run them at quite a slow pace mainly. I've been going at sort of 8-minute miles, my sort of faster pace would probably be breaking down towards the 7. So I've been cruising, I guess, and for that, I think this shoe has a lot going for it. It's felt really nice, really good as a sort of easy run cruiser. Just out to get my head up today in the sunshine, and it's done a good job. Quick first impressions then, and for that first run, hour and 10 minutes, 7 miles. I like what I've seen from the Asics Trabuco Max 4 for a higher stacked cushion trail shoe. Good for cruising, lots of good comfort, lots of cradling on the foot. It's coped with all the terrain that I've put it through so far. Lots of runnable stuff though, so nothing particularly technical or tricky. It's been good for that. On the road, even though it's a big cushion shoe, I think it took a bit of breaking in. So I don't know yet whether or not it's going to cope if you're thinking about something that's a proper road to trail shoe, but certainly on the buffed out compact trail where you're not worried too much about precision and picking your way through narrow bits, it's been absolutely cracking. I've enjoyed it, good comfort. I think interested to test it more on more tricky terrain, but so far from what I've seen, grip's been good, although it's very dry. Those lugs are maybe a bit heavy for the road. That's part of that road feel as well. But overall, I would say this shoe has quite a lot going for it. I've been fairly impressed, but more testing as ever is required before we give the final verdict.
So my early verdict on the Asics Trabuco Max 4 is what you'd expect. It's a big, comfortable, cushioned trail shoe that really does a good job if you're going out and you're trying to just have a nice consistent pace, a nice enjoyable run for longer distances. That midsole works really well for a long distance run, very comfortable on lots of different terrain. If you're going on hard surfaces, absolutely fine. It does a great job at that. Nice bit of rocker action from it. If you're going on softer surfaces, very good, because it's quite it's a firmer midsole than what you'll get from a lot of shoes that have this level of stack height in. So overall, I think it is a really solid, enjoyable shoe to take out based off of that first run, and definitely something that if you're looking for comfort and you want a big sturdy shoe, I think it'll do that. But it's not a sluggish shoe either. It just feels like there's a little bit to it because that the way that midsole and the rocker geometry works, it's nice to maintain a nice pace in it. So yeah, very much enjoyed that first run in it and looking forward to doing some more trail runs in it soon. That's it from us on this first run. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and click that little bell. And if you're going to catch me below, you can find a link to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.